Rain hammered the alley hard enough to sting. Mary O'Connor ran, 60 seconds ahead of a mistake she could not afford. Blue and red washed the brick at her back, sirens folding into the night's wet murmur. She clutched a small key in her fist until the metal carved a crescent into her skin. 10 detectives had called the case a dead end. She had found the one detail no one saw. That made her useful for a heartbeat and a target forever after. She slid behind a dumpster and pulled air that smelled of wet cardboard and rot. A shivering stray nosed at a takeaway bag by the trash. She nudged the sack toward it with her foot and pushed the cat deeper under the awning. The city did not notice kindness, but she did. Her phone vibrated. Unknown number. She stared at the screen, rain ticking on the glass, then answered. "Stop now," a man said, voice smooth and empty. "Stop and this ends quiet." "I found a key," Mary said, voice low. "I found more than that." "You found what someone put in your path," the man said. "Walk away." "I've been cleaning other people's messes my whole life," Mary said. "I know the difference between trash and truth." "Truth gets people buried," the man said. She ended the call and tucked the phone into her pocket, the rain turning her old coat to a second skin. She stepped out into the alley, lifted her chin against the weather and checked the street. A black sedan idled at the corner, lights off. She ducked into a doorway and pulled a tiny flashlight, cupping it so the beam would not travel. The key flashed in a tight cone. A small compass rose was stamped into the head, the edges worn smooth by someone else's life. She tucked the key into the band of her glove and ran. Sirens pushed closer. Tires hissed on slick asphalt. In the wash of rain, she tasted solvents and old wood in memory, like ghosts riding the weather. She remembered a polished floor with droplets ticking out a rhythm, the cold wash of fluorescent light across wet tile, the rough bite of a banister under her palm. She remembered the scene everyone else called ordinary. She rounded a corner and cut into a narrower passage where the city's noise dropped to a whisper. Her phone buzzed again. She answered without stopping. "Nina," Mary said, "I need you at Harbor Diner in 20, back booth." "Mary, what did you do?" Nina Park said, voice quick and soft. "What did you find?" "A key," Mary said, "and someone who wants to take it out of my hand." "Who?" "Someone with a badge," Mary said. "Bring whatever you trust, more than a lock." A door scraped open above her and a figure leaned out, then pulled back. The sedan turned down the block. She tightened her jaw and kept moving. She reached the diner's back alley and touched the door, heart pounding. Her phone rang again. She swallowed and answered. "You've seen too much, Mary," the voice said. The day had started like any other. Mary O'Connor walked into a brownstone that smelled of bleach, rain, and grief. The lights hummed in dead white, and droplets clicked from a broken skylight onto polished floor, a steady metronome that held the room in place. 10 detectives worked the scene, shoes in paper covers, faces set into the shape of certainty. They had been there all night, chasing angles that did not bend. The victim had a name and a story that would shrink in the news. Victor Hale, a city contractor with a habit of not making waves. The body was gone now, zipped and wheeled away, but the house held impressions like dust. A toppled chair, a bruise on a banister, the scent of old varnish under the sharp swipe of solvent. Mary moved in with a bucket and a soft mop, the way she always did. Careful hands, eyes that knew how to look where others did not. John Miller stood near the entry, a trench coat and a lined face that made strangers trust him. He talked to his partner while scanning nothing in particular. Linda Thompson, solid and steady, wrote notes that looked like answers. Marcus Reed, younger, impatient, bounced on his heels by the kitchen, pushing for something to chase. "Make sure nothing gets moved," John Miller said, not looking at Mary. "Everything has already been moved," Mary said. "I just find what's left." Linda glanced up and offered a small smile that was half apology. "Careful of the banister, please," Linda said. "There might be trace they missed." Mary ran her gloved fingers under the rail, feeling splinters, a notch, then something cold that bit into her glove's thin latex. She stilled. The drip from the skylight tapped a steady beat. She eased her hand back and found a small key lodged where the wood had worn down around it, as if it had lived there quiet for years. A tiny compass rose marked the head. She showed it to the nearest uniform. "Bag for CSU," the officer said, already looking past her toward Marcus. "Let me see," John Miller said, moving over. He gave it a glance, then a shrug. "Probably a diary key. We need motive, not trinkets." "Everything tells a story," Mary said. "Then tell me one I can use in court," John Miller said, walking away. Linda remained. "If you found it, it matters," Linda said. "Thank you." Mary nodded once, slid the key into a fresh evidence envelope, and stared at it for a breath too long. She wrote the room number and the date on the bag in clear block letters. When no one watched, she took a second bag from her cart, slipped the key inside, and tucked it into her coat. She felt the weight of the lie like a coin under her tongue. She sent a message to Nina Park, an old friend from church who had become a reporter when the world turned sharp. Nina still answered when things got quiet and wrong. "Call me," Mary wrote. She moved through the house with her bucket and her care, cataloging brokenness. Marcus Reed scowled at his phone. "This was supposed to be easy," Marcus said to no one. "Like pulling a thread." "Pull the right one," Mary said. By dusk, she was in the precinct's evidence room with her cart, a mop, and permission to do what the budget no longer covered. Lights buzzed. Racks of tagged bags and boxes filled the space, each a story misplaced until someone gave it voice. Linda had mentioned a document earlier, a ledger that might tie Victor Hale to a string of no-bid contracts. Mary wiped down a steel table and listened to the building settle. She checked the shelf where the ledger should have sat. An empty space left dust like a picture frame. She scanned the sign-out log, names crossed out, times overwritten. Her stomach went tight. She set her rag down and stepped back, counting breath. The door to the hall stood ajar. A whisper drifted in. "She is only a cleaner," someone said. Mary eased the door shut, locked it, and stared at the neat absence where the ledger should be. The room smelled of cold metal and old paper. The document was gone. Morning came without warmth. Mary met Nina Park at the Harbor Diner, where coffee tasted like motion, and the waitresses remembered everyone's names. The rain had not stopped, just gotten bored and mean. "Start slow," Nina said. "Tell me everything." Mary laid the copied evidence tag on the formica. "Small key," Mary said. "Compass rose, hidden in the banister. The ledger that could explain why Victor Hale died just disappeared from the evidence room." "Who had access?" Nina said. "Everyone who knows how to write their name," Mary said. "And someone who does not want me to have this." Nina studied the tag, eyes moving like she was tracing a map. "Compass rose," Nina said. "Ships, storage, direction. There is a warehouse district by the river where everything old goes to hide." "It is not that simple," Mary said. "It never is," Nina said. "But we can look." Mary glanced at the door. John Miller stepped in for a takeaway coffee, scanned the room, and slid his eyes past Mary as if he did not see her. Linda followed, nodding at Mary with a flicker of concern. "We need allies," Nina said. "We need someone in the building who still believes in a straight line." "Linda does," Mary said. "Then talk to her," Nina said, carefully. Mary met Linda later in a quiet corner of the precinct parking lot. Rain ticked on the hood of Mary's car. "I found a key," Mary said. "I think it opens more than a drawer." "Why tell me?" Linda said. "Because you looked me in the eye," Mary said. "Because 10 detectives failed, and I cannot believe you are one of them." Linda let out a breath. "This department is held together by tape right now," Linda said. "If you are right, then be smart. There are people who will not let you be right in public." "What about Miller?" Mary said. Linda's mouth tightened. "John is good at the job he knows," Linda said. "I have been his partner for a decade and a half. Do not make me doubt the one thing that still feels solid." Mary reached into her coat and showed the key. Linda stared at it and then at Mary. "Looks like an old storage key," Linda said. "Nautical, maybe." "Then the river," Mary said. Nina drove them along the water, past fences and rusted gates, until they found a cluster of units with faded signs. A Compass Rose logo flaked off a battered placard that read Riverport Lockers. Mary held the key like a compass needle and felt foolish until she did not. "Try it," Nina said. "I do not know which one," Mary said. They walked until Mary saw a brass plate on a unit door with the same faint scratches she had noticed on the banister at Victor Hale's house. She slid the key into the lock. It did not fit. She looked down. The plate did not guard the lock. It guarded the seam in the door frame. She ran the key's head along the edge and felt something give. A panel snapped free the way a lie snaps when it has been told too long. Inside, a smaller compartment sat, metal dull with age. The key slid home and turned. Mary lifted the lid. Ledgers tied with twine, envelopes with names written in block letters, photographs of men in suits smiling where no one should smile. The air smelled like old paper and damp cement. At the top of the stack, a list of city contracts sat next to initials that formed a map of graft. Nina swallowed. "This is it," Nina said. "This blows a hole through a wall." Mary pulled a ledger and flipped it open. A payment stream ran like a river to a dead end labeled DF. Her hand went cold. "Derek Fulton," Mary said, "Chief of Police." Nina nodded. "We step carefully," Nina said. "If this is what it looks like, the people who built it know how to bulldoze nuisances." Mary carried the smallest ledger in a canvas bag under her coat and drove back to the city with her shoulders tight. She wanted to tell Linda, to put it in a hand that knew codes and courthouses. Instead, she called Marcus Reed, the one who wanted to pull threads. "Meet me," Mary said, "no observers." Marcus met them in a park where the grass was a slick green that reflected the sky. "Tell me I get to run," Marcus said, eyes bright. "Do not run," Mary said. "Think." She showed him a photograph of a handshake between Victor Hale and a man whose face was turned away. The cufflink bore a small compass rose that matched the key. Marcus went still. "He wears those," Marcus said. "John, I have seen him wear those cufflinks to the commissioner's dinner. They were a gift." "A gift from who?" Nina said. Marcus shifted, jaw tight. "From Derek Fulton," Marcus said. "I was there when the box was opened. John said it was politics. I thought it was a stupid perk." Mary stared at him. "What else?" Mary said. Marcus pressed his lips thin. "I saw John at a private club by the lake 2 nights ago," Marcus said. "I was off duty. Derek Fulton walked out with him. I told myself it was nothing. I did not want to ruin the only good thing I have in this job." "You saw him meeting the chief quietly," Nina said. "I did," Marcus said, "and I said nothing." Mary felt the weight shift under her feet. She stared at the ledger in her bag and thought about loyalty used like a weapon. "Do not be quiet now," Mary said. Night wrapped the city in wet foil. Mary held the canvas bag against her chest as if it contained a living thing. They set a plan simple enough to survive scrutiny. Linda would get a look at the documents and make a call to the one deputy district attorney she trusted. Marcus would find out if John Miller's calendar matched his story. Nina would make copies and set them to move if Mary stopped answering her phone. They met at Nina's apartment, a narrow walk-up stacked with boxes of clippings and a coffee maker that rattled on the counter. Nina took photos of each page with a steady hand. "We do not keep everything in one place," Nina said. "We seed it so it grows if someone stomps the soil." "You talk like a gardener," Mary said. "I am growing a story," Nina said. They walked the bag to Mary's car. The rain had thickened to a sheet. The street glistened and the world felt greased. Mary placed the bag behind the driver's seat and locked the doors. She turned toward the sidewalk and saw a man across the street, watching, collar up, hat low. He turned away fast. She felt the hair lift on her arms. By morning, the plan bent. Linda called with a tight voice. "I asked John about last night," Linda said. "He said he was home. He said I should be careful who I listen to." "And you," Mary said. "I said partners do not hide at the lake," Linda said. Marcus texted a photo of the precinct sign-out log. John's name did not appear next to any file, but the time marks suggested someone had slipped in between entries. "I hate this," Marcus said. Mary drove to the district attorney's office to make the handoff to Linda. She parked in a reserved spot Linda had arranged and turned to reach for the bag. The back seat was empty. The vinyl mat was wet where the bag had been. The lock on the rear door had been pried and bent. She stood in the rain and counted backward from 10. Nina arrived in 2 minutes and read everything on Mary's face. "Gone," Nina said. "Stolen," Mary said. "Right before we made a move." Her phone rang. "Unknown number," she answered. Another detective is with Fulton, a strained voice said. Not the one you want to see, the one you trust. Who are you? Mary said. A cleaner, the voice said. Like you. The line went dead. She looked at Linda's number and did not call. She looked at Marcus's message and did not answer. She started the car and pulled into the flood of traffic, eyes scanning the mirrors. Nina gripped the dash. We still have the copies, Nina said. We have pages, Mary said. We lost the bag that smells like the room it came from. Enough to move the needle, Nina said. Not enough for a clean conviction, Mary said, but enough to draw blood. They drove back to the brownstone where Victor Hale had died. The crime scene tape hung limp, the house listed in sadness, and the rain made old wood sigh. Mary pushed in with a key she had copied over the years for jobs like this. She moved to the staircase and put her hand on the newel post. The wood felt like bone. She ran the compass key across the seam in the wood and felt a scrape. She pressed and a panel in the post shifted. Baker's sawdust drifted out. Inside, a small box waited, painted to match the interior rail. Mary slid the key into a slit that had looked like a crack. It turned and the lid popped. Inside lay a second ledger, thinner, rolled tight, with a rubber band that cracked when she pulled it off. Photographs showed people Mary had seen at city galas, the smiles wide, the hands on shoulders, the quiet glow of deal-making in their eyes. At the back, a typed sheet listed initials beside amounts and dates. DF topped the list. We have enough, Nina said. We have enough to ruin someone's night, Mary said. They already know we are not sleeping. A window creaked at the back of the house. A shadow moved. Mary snapped the box shut and slid it into her coat. They slipped out the front and back to the car without running. They met Linda in a parking garage with low ceilings and bad lighting. Give me what you have, Linda said. I will not take it to the precinct. I will take it to the deputy DA in a lobby full of witnesses. You sure, Mary said. I am done guessing where loyalties fall, Linda said. Either we stand up or we drown. Mary handed her the thin ledger. Linda tucked it into a messenger bag and closed her coat over it. She turned to leave and stopped. Marcus says John is asking questions about you, Linda said. Like he already knows what you have. How would he know? Mary said. He asked what kind of key you found, Linda said. Mary swallowed. And you said, Mary said. That I did not know, Linda said. They separated. Mary drove Nina home. She parked, turned off the engine, and stared through the windshield at a city that could not stop raining. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. We got a problem, he wrote. Miller's at the river with Fulton. Tonight. Mary closed her hand over the compass key. The metal pressed a shiver into her palm. She thought about fear living in her chest like a second heart. She thought about all the years she had been told to keep her head down and her mouth shut. We go to the river, Mary said. They reached the riverfront as the storm woke to full rage, the buildings fading in sheets of water. A warehouse sat at the edge like a ship run aground. Windows boarded, doors chained. Light leaked around a seam where the metal had been pulled back and put in place again. Tire tracks raked the mud. They watched from the cover of a derelict loading dock while thunder rolled across the water. You sure, Nina said. I'm tired of being almost brave, Mary said. She sent a message to Linda with the address and a simple line. Come alone, Mary wrote. If you cannot, do not come. They moved to the side door and slipped into a narrow corridor where the smell of old rope and oil held the air. Voices carried from the main room, low and angry. Mary paused in the shadows and let her eyes adjust. Derek Fulton stood on a raised platform near a pallet of shrink-wrapped crates, raincoat dark, face carved into the shape of command. John Miller stood beside him, older in the fluorescent glare, cuffs glinting with a small compass rose that caught the light each time he moved his hand. I did not want this, John Miller said. You put me here. You put yourself here when you took the box, Fulton said. You do not take the box and turn into a priest. A third man held the canvas bag Mary had lost. The zipper open, the contents rifled. Where is the rest? Fulton said. It is enough, the third man said. It is not, Fulton said. Mary stepped out with her hands visible and her voice steady. Try the truth, Mary said. Guns moved toward her. Linda appeared behind Mary like a shadow that had found its owner. Marcus slid in from the far side, breath hard, eyes hot. Nina stayed in the dark with her phone up, the red light blinking. Mary kept her gaze on Fulton. You were supposed to make us safe, Mary said. You made yourself rich. Who are you to tell me about safety, Fulton said. I am the person who sweeps the floors after you leave, Mary said. I am the one who sees what sticks to the bottom of your shoes. John Miller shifted. Mary, John Miller said, you are in over your head. I am in the only water that has been here all along, Mary said. Linda steadied her shoulders. John, Linda said, tell me whatever you think I will believe. I took what I had to take to keep the ship afloat, John Miller said. You do not know the things I kept off our streets. You kept Derek Fulton out of handcuffs, Linda said. You kept yourself in cufflinks. John's jaw worked. I will make this right, John Miller said. You are not that man anymore, Linda said. Fulton raised his hand and the room tightened. You have copies, Fulton said to Mary. You think a paper matters. Paper is the part you cannot hide, Mary said. She pulled the compass key from her coat and held it up. Rainwater from their clothes had run into her palm, washing grime from the head. Under the worn compass rose, fine lines shone, revealed by wet light, numbers, a date, an account path. She stepped to a steel locker bolted to the wall, its face scarred, its edge marked by the same faint scratches as Victor Hale's banister and the river unit. Everything built by the same hands leaves the same mark, Mary said. She ran the key's head along the seam and found the hidden plate. It slid. The key turned and the lock surrendered with a tired click. Inside, a second cache waited. Hard cash in envelopes. A ledger stamped with the city seal. A photograph of Derek Fulton shaking hands with a developer everyone knew. A piece of paper in their grip and a smile that was work. Nina stepped forward. Smile, Chief, Nina said. We are live to a cloud that does not rain. Fulton laughed once, then stopped. Half a dozen officers in plain clothes stepped into the room from the far door with weapons raised. Honest faces, tired eyes, the ones who had watched their pensions shrink and their city slide. The deputy district attorney followed, hair plastered to her head, eyes fierce. Derek Fulton, the deputy DA said, hands where I can see them. Fulton's mouth flexed into resolve. You do not get to do this, Fulton said. We already did, Mary said. John Miller lowered his gun. He looked at Linda the way people look at rooms before they leave them. He set the weapon down and lifted his hands. He looked old and small and human. I thought I could steer it, John Miller said. I told myself I could take a little and do a lot. You took something you cannot put back, Linda said. The third man bolted for the side exit. Marcus moved without thinking, tackling him into crates that erupted plastic. Linda cuffed John Miller while the deputy DA's people wrapped Fulton in the kind of procedure he had used on others. Rain hammered the roof. The world narrowed to the sound of metal on bone and breath on air. A uniform reached for Mary. She stepped back. I am fine, Mary said. Do your job. Linda turned to Mary, face set but soft at the edges. You did this, Linda said. We did this, Mary said. You, me, the woman who makes copies, the man who finally opened his mouth. Nina appeared at Mary's side with the phone down. Your name is going to be everywhere, Nina said. Keep it out of your story, Mary said. Make it about the detail no one saw and the people who chose to look. People like you, Nina said. Mary looked at the key, the numbers sharp now, the metal clean. She thought about how the city would try to shrug this off, then found a hard calm in knowing that, for a moment, shrugging would not work. Days later, the storm broke and the city breathed. Derek Fulton resigned in a press conference that tried hard not to look like a confession and failed. John Miller made a statement about mistakes and sat down in a small room with his lawyer. Officers who had smiled in photographs waited to answer real questions. The deputy DA spoke about charges that would stick. The council spoke about reforms that would not be easy, but would begin. Mary went back to work. Floors still needed mopping. Stairs still held shoe scuffs. She moved through buildings with the same careful hands and different eyes. Linda stopped by the brownstone one afternoon as Mary polished a banister that would never be the same. "Coffee," Linda said. Mary nodded and took the cup. "How are you?" Mary said. "Learning how to be a partner all over again," Linda said. "You're good at learning," Mary said. Linda leaned on the rail. "You could consult," Linda said. "We could use someone who sees what we miss." "I will think about it," Mary said. "I like my broom." Linda smiled. "You like justice more," Linda said. "Justice is in the small things," Mary said. "In the details, everyone steps over because their shoes are clean." Outside, the city ran on. People went to work and came home and hoped they would not be asked to look too hard at the spaces between. Mary set her bucket down, took one more pass at the rail, and watched the wood take its old shine. Sometimes the thing everyone calls insignificant tells you everything that matters.